than just 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were saying Donald Trump had made inroads with Hispanic voters. This suggests that that has continued apace.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into the thrilling saga of the Kamala Harris campaign, where the polls are about as stable as a Jenga tower in an earthquake. And that's right, our vice president's navigating the treacherous waters of public opinion. Let's just say she might need a bigger life raft. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ocean, we have Donald Trump, who's somehow managing to look like he's riding a jet ski. And who knew he could be so buoyant? So grab your popcorn, folks. It's time to get on the wild ride as we watch the vice president stay afloat while the former president surfs the wave of public opinion. And Kamala Harris is sinking. Everyone knows it. And I know a little bit about sinking. I did some time on a submarine. Let's check this out.
I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
Underwater in Michigan. Could you ever imagine that? Well, I mean, it could be because Tampon Tim went to a football game and gave the fans a middle finger. Play that clip.
Oh, yeah. Trump 2024, baby!
When the vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, goes to a Michigan game cheering for Michigan while he's the governor of Minnesota, I can see why he would need to give the fans the middle finger, because it seems like he's given America the middle finger. Do you see that? That's the middle finger to voters because someone heckled him and said Trump 2024. Is that who you want as a vice president? Would he give some of our foreign adversaries the middle finger because he doesn't like what they're saying? And this is part of the reason Kamala Harris is sinking in the polls like a submarine, is because of statements like this. And all of these things are coming back in play. And I don't know how late in the day this was, or maybe this was after a little cocktail party.
And we run around with these signs. Build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere. Build more schools. We protest. Build more schools, less jails. Put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion. And it's this. I agree with that conceptually. But you have not addressed the reason I have 3 padlocks on my front door.
Kamala Harris, Attorney General from California, build more prisons, not schools. You haven't addressed why I have 3 padlocks on my door. Kamala Harris, these things just keep stacking up. She can't get away from this stuff fast enough. Here's another statement that people are seeing, and they are seeing it and they're believing it.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
That's Kamala Harris. She actually admits that the last 3.5 years she was in office was ineffective. This is her in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the same place where she wants to shut down fracking, admitting that the policies she's been a part of for the last 3.5 years do not work. And now we're seeing it on a daily basis. How can she separate herself from Joe Biden and her own policy? I don't know. I don't know where this goes other than underwater.
We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters. Which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats. But again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen, a 29-point drop in terms of that gap there on which party Hispanics identify with in just 12 years.
Wow. In 12 years, the Democrat Party has tanked. They are tanking, and more people are registering as a Republican across the United States than as a Democrat, probably the first time in history. And it's part of the failed policies. And Latin Americans are doing the exact same thing. And I don't know where the Democrat Party turns to next. What do you expect to happen? Are we going to have some kind of October surprise that Hillary Clinton has predicted? How does the Democrat Party get this Latin American vote back? They've tried importing it. You can question that if you want. That's just my opinion. YouTube Health and Safety. But it's not working. And this Kornacki is all over the polls. Look in 2022, Republicans, 21% Latin American voters. 2016, 20%. 2020, 23%. Looks like Donald Trump is really starting to get some traction from people that came here legally, while at the same time the Democrat Party is failing at the exact same thing. And I believe part of it is that the Democrat Party is bringing people here illegally and giving them preference over those that came legally. And those people are upset, and they're changing parties. What does this spell for the Democrat Party? More importantly, what does it spell for Kamala Harris?
We see every 4 years the Latino vote becomes a bigger and bigger share of the overall electorate. Well, among Latinos, our poll shows Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump 54 to 40%. Now, for some context, this is a little bit better for Democrats than they were doing among Hispanics when Joe Biden was their candidate. But I think the bigger story here is historically, 54 to 40 now is a 14-point advantage for the Democrats. Take a look back at the last three presidential elections, and these were the results in the exit polls among Hispanic voters. That 14, look at that cut there, almost 20 points less than just 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were saying Donald Trump had made inroads with Hispanic voters. This suggests that that has continued apace.
Wow. MSNBC has to be shaking in their boots or whatever they wear, right? How about you? How many of you know some Latin American people that have moved here, maybe born here, raised here, that are suddenly seeing the writing on the wall, and they're fed up with the Democrat Party? They're fed up with the way that they have been, I would say, just overlooked, undervalued, taken for granted is probably a really good way to put it, a nice way to put it here on some morning news with the veteran biker. Figure this one out. But Kamala Harris has other problems.
Describe Kamala Harris as a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
Senator Vance, thank you for joining.
Do you like how the news media just said, hey, thanks for joining us. You gave us the answer we didn't want to hear. We got to cut you off. That's what's happening. That is what's happening. That's the news media. This guy right here is a journalist. Well, he's probably a campaign staffer pretending to be a journalist. And I don't know how much longer they can go on defending Kamala Harris. And in my personal opinion, time is running out. I believe the Democrat Party is doing everything they can to lose. And I believe the news media is going to turn on Kamala Harris. Because if she gets arrested, because if she gets elected, they're out of jobs. There's not enough chapstick for all the butt kissing they would have to do over the next 4 to 8 years. There's nothing on the news to talk about because they would just have to worship her. They need Donald Trump in there just so they can sell news and sell opinions.
Well, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy, he's the only school teacher in America who brags that none of his students can get into an Ivy League school.
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
He's had one consequential press interaction with our Dana Bash, who asked him about the fabrications in his own resume, and his answer was essentially, Me no understand words good.
My wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again,
I mean, he's a buffoon. He's on a free ride for running under Harris. He gets very little press. They don't let him talk to the press for a reason. I want one thing out of this debate. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and get under his skin. He has legendary hot, short temper. A lot of governors do, but apparently he does. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and have him explain why he is denigrating J.D. Vance's story. Small town America ends up making something better out of his life, which is something we should want for every kid. Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy,
We'll be live streaming the J.D. Vance-Tim Walz debate. It's going to be epic. It's going to be amazing. Rumor has it Tim Walz is nervous. I wonder why. He's going to be on a political battlefield with a Marine. Right? I got to get out of here. Veteran Bikers out. I got to go pay taxes. I got to go to work. I urge all of you to get to work. There are people in Ukraine that need your tax money. Vet Bikers out.